All right, welcome back. Now, we are just about 5 minutes away from the beginning of the vice presidential debate. We'll see if they kind of run a little late like the last debate did with, I think Hillary Clinton was trying to adjust her buttons on her Mao costume and all of that. Well, we'll see. Maybe it'll get started right on time here, set to be about 8 o'clock.
That's a conspiracy theory. Actually, what was going on was they were fixing the earpiece of Lester Holt.
Oh.
Remember that?
Well, what about the little rat that was running around with the folders, too?
Yeah, so
Right.
was it the folder exchange?
There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Hillary had to get her baby blood transfusion. They had to fix Lester Holt's earpiece. And then they could go on with trying to gang up on Donald Trump. And they had to mess with his microphone levels, which they came out and later admitted that they did.
Yeah, 3 days later, they did admit after
But that was a
they
conspiracy
let Hillary
theory.
Clinton make fun of them. And actually, Michelle Obama did too. She's like, so tapped her mic like, oh, I'm having problems. And it's like, oh, let's all just poke fun and make fun. It's so frustrating fighting against all the lies, all the propaganda. It is in your face. Thanks to the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act in 2013, where they're now legally allowed to push propaganda to the U.S., and they're like going to town with it. Oh, yeah, let's not forget about the signals there, the hand gestures she was giving to Lester Holt, which there was a world champion poker player who came out and said, if I had seen that and I was the head of a casino, that's the oldest tell in the book right there.
Well, I'm no world class poker player, but even I could tell that was extremely sketchy at the least. You don't see that, especially the way it was coordinated. And then she would look over at Lester, and then he would do something to change the pace or to change the tone of the debate right after she did it.
Right.
She did this weird thing back when Richard Reeves asked her about her email server being hacked. And when he's asking her the question, she's like poking into her lip like, and she's like, that's absolutely untrue. But it's like,
she's like going in.
She was making some weird adjustment.
Yeah, don't lie, don't lie.
Really weird. And then her handler's like, all right, here we go. And then she goes, yes, here we go. And then they walk off. Like, literally, like she's...
That was a great weather out here today,
several capacitors and circuits, I think.
Well, that's her, go-to response when they ask her a tough question. She's like, well, how great weather we're having today, right? Oh, okay, into my handicap van. Yeah, it'll definitely...
This is another good one. She's in Cleveland.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, there's the shot right there. Look at her. She's digging into her lip. Look at that. Like, what is that? What is that?
She's getting the crusties out.
What is that? That's weird. And look at her handler freaking out, and the lady behind her is like, INFOWARS, ugh. And then the Secret Service agent looks like he's kind of happy about it.
Yeah.
But, absolutely untrue. And then my favorite is at the debate, or at her speech in Cleveland, she starts pointing to the people, but she can't talk. And then she lets out You're right. You're right.
Someone actually tweeted me a video today where she was like, getting in her nose, and then she went like that and wiped it on some little kid. But she went into hey kid, tell me, what do you want to happen to America? But why is she so gross?
What happened to the green globlets that she spit out? Were those put into some sort of a aquarium to be raised into?
Those are the two guys on the two aliens on The Simpsons now. They have tentacles, and remember they ran for president too.
What was it, like Zork and Bork or something?
Yeah.
Zork and Bork. Well, we're just about, 2 minutes away, and so we are going to do our best to not talk over the debate. I don't really know how this is supposed to work. This is kind of our...
There's there they are. Evolved form of Hillary's globlets.
It didn't take long. It didn't take long.
They've grown teeth now and one eyeball, and they're keeping an eye on Hillary Clinton, making sure she follows through with the goblin agenda, the green goblin agenda. But so how's this going to work? So... we're going to try and stay quiet. We have heard your voices. And, of course, we have our own live feed going of this. So we don't have to talk over the debate. But I feel like if you want to interject, if something is just totally outrageous and you want to call it out, we're going to talk a little bit. I know David Knight is going to be filing some reports just like we did last time. We got a lot of those reports kind of fact-checking in real time. So whatever we're able to do with this debate tonight, those are all going to be going up on the YouTube channel right away. So be sure to check those out, retweet them, share them on your Facebook so that we can get this fact-checking trending in real time on our end. And, of course, we will be checking in with Donald J. Trump to see his epic Twitter trolling of the debate. It'll be people are saying that this is going to be the VP debate is going to be the most normal thing about the election. So
you know,
we also have a poll on Twitter, guys. It's up there on your screen. Who do you think will win tonight's VP debate? Watch it live, and then Pence or Kane. It looks like we've got 2,200 votes so far.
That's an interesting poll because how does one win a vice presidential debate? I'm wondering what people think. What does it take for Pence to win?
Losing.
What does it take for Kane to win? But I mean,
right.
It's like they've both already lost in the eyes of whoever the opposer is. We've already got people deciding. So, I mean.
Yeah, and has a vice presidential candidate ever really swayed an undecided voter? Were they like, oh, I was undecided, but, that VP
Yeah,
voice,
that Mike Pence really swung me.
Yeah.
Trump's going to be live tweeting as well, so this should be interesting.
We'll definitely follow the Trump live tweets.
It's not 3 a.m., so who knows? This should be pretty normal.
Well, and I love how
tweets.
Hillary Clinton tried to come after him saying, oh, we really rattled him after that last debate. He was up tweeting at 3 in the morning, and then he came back saying, well, at least we all know I'll be up at 3 in the morning to answer phone calls of anyone who.
Well, and I'll tell you what, though, that's something.
Get out the way.
That's something that they could actually use against Trump. They could try to bait him into something, knowing he's live tweeting,
right?
And then, inject something into the debate rhetoric to try to trigger him and get him to tweet something, perhaps that they can use against him.
Good point.
So that could be something that we might want to see. But
and then that'll be the only news. It won't be about the fact that Russia.
He really doesn't give a damn, does he? I mean, he just doesn't give a damn. He's like, you know what? I'll tweet live. I'll stay up till 3 a.m. I'll talk about Miss Piggy beauty queens. I'll say build a wall. Screw you.
Well, I want to take this one last phone call from Roy in Canada, and then I'm going to clear the board because we're going to go to your phone calls after the debate. I don't want to keep anyone else waiting. Are we able to pull up Roy in Canada? Because you want to talk about the fact that you're witnessing the manipulation there in Canada by the media.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with Pence tonight because, you've got pretty much past almost 16 years where you've had vice presidents like Biden and Cheney, and, you've got a generation that hasn't, seen what an actual vice president could possibly be. So, he's got the opportunity to go after Hillary and Kane on the stuff that Trump was too much of a gentleman to go on, so.
Exactly. And that would certainly make it thrilling for the rest of us who are all tuning in to see. So what are you seeing there in Canada as far as the media manipulating it in favor of Hillary Clinton? Ooh, shocking.
Oh, it's crazy. They tried everything that they weren't representing him when he had the Trump University with case with the judge who had the La Raza affiliation.
Right. Yeah.
Any objective reporting there. They had CTV, CBC, and Global. All pretty much every time it's Hillary and just her looking presidential, and then Trump. What's the biggest thing that the mainstream media has against them? So you guys are not alone.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Roy, for watching the show along with us here at InfoWars and for helping to fight the good fight on the other side.
How about make the vice president great again?
Yeah.
Dick Cheney and Joe Biden. These guys are, exactly. Depressed trombone sound after those two guys.
Yeah, well, and
you've got Dick Cheney, who's a warmonger, and then you've got Joe Biden, who can't help but just loves
Creepy
touching
Joe
little
Biden.
kids.
Creepy Uncle
Absolute
Joe
freak.
Biden. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and clear the board of the phone calls. I guess those other two weren't even typed in anyway, so I don't want to keep people holding, but we are going to take your calls once the debate is over. We want to see what people think of the performance tonight and if they're, feeling any of these potential presidents. Because let's not forget, they are just one heartbeat away, as people like to say. And I don't know, it's kind of maybe a little bit frightening that no one really knows who this Tim Kaine guy is, but he's actually been in the, kind of in the pockets.
Hey guys, before we start,
for a while.
Let's hit that clip again of on MSNBC now getting trolled by one of our I guess one of our listeners who
fellow
went to
Info Warriors.
Yeah, one of our fellow InfoWars. We haven't seen the other guy come forward. I've heard different theories that
he just disappeared.
Yeah, he disappeared. We don't know if the security got him or maybe he knew somebody in within Fox and was working. That's how he's able to get back there like that, because he was dressed up kind of conservatively. So who knows? But we haven't seen him yet. But let's go ahead and play this clip. This is a man on MSNBC being interviewed, and he nails it. He did exactly what you need to do. So here we go.
So epic.
failed businessman, or maybe he didn't perform very well in some of his business endeavors. But I think one of the things that we really need to be looking at in this debate is that Bill Clinton is a rapist. Infowars.com. Bill Clinton's a rapist. Bill Clinton is a rapist.
All right.
Bill Clinton is a rapist. Bill Clinton is a rapist. Like, can we all?
Yeah, that's right. He knew he had a minute, and he used that minute to change the world, you MSNBC fop.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how he has the glasses on, you know, the like,
oh my God, he talked bad about Bill Clinton to somebody. I don't know what to do here. Oh my gosh.
That's what
Cut.
That's why I love Tucker Carlson's response when the guy was behind him going, Bill Clinton's a rapist. He just
starts laughing.
Because he knew exactly what was going on. And you know what? Tucker Carlson, I think he's on the right side of history here.
I'm not sure when Alex Jones. I guess he's been making this, for a while to come out and call Bill Clinton a rapist on mainstream media and everything. But we're starting to see the effects.
That was massive.
Bill Clinton rape shirt gets on Fox. MSNBC interviews Bill Clinton rape conspiracy theorist. Bill Clinton speaks at Ohio University. Someone spray paints Bill Clinton rapes on the wall.
Walkway, yeah, and
there's the article from Fox News.
And as soon as it started it all. Yeah, as soon as it happens, all these other websites then have to report about it because it is news. And I mean, it goes viral. And like you're saying, yeah, he used that 1 minute to change the world, because there is a whole generation of young people who have no idea about the Clintons.
And look what he took over, the strut your mutt segment.
Yeah.
I mean, literally an issue of no significance.
It had nothing to do with politics.
Bill Clinton likes to strut his mutt.
There's all kinds of families, just like tuning in. Oh, I want to learn about strut your mutt.
And then them all right.
People that, maybe they don't even watch late night news or hard hitting news or whatever, because they just want to learn about puppies and kittens and watch their cat videos. They got a little hit of some hard truth.
Hit him with the Bill Clinton rape.
Boom.
And then you've got Danny Williams, too. I mean, I'm telling you, Bill Clinton is having a tough week right now.
Look at him. Oh, I love it.
You know what? I just got to say this, and we salute this patriot, even though we don't know who he is yet. But whoever does it next, try to just be a little more, under control of the situation. I think this guy got a little excited.
Well, he did an awesome job, but we don't want you to get carted off by security who then could potentially beat you or imprison you, something like that. But you know what? Hey, it's a free country. You are a free man with red hot blood going through your veins.
Now there's
I bet you like to eat. I bet you like making children.
He likes eating steak every night. It's funny. There's actually conspiracies starting to circulate on the internet. If you zoom in on the picture of the guy who had the Bill Clinton rape shirt on that got onto the Tucker Carlson Fox segment, people actually think he looks like a young Alex Jones. It's kind of funny. I've seen the pictures. I'm not going to lie. But I don't think this is a Danny Williams, Bill Clinton situation we have going.
Yeah,
here.
no, I don't think so. I don't think Alex would be.
But we love to, all the conspiracy theories.
Here they come. The no names potential future presidents.
Tim Kaine, he just doesn't, he just looks like a scoundrel, doesn't he?
He does. That's what I'm saying. He
like
looks
Joe Biden and Cheney. They did too.
Yeah. Well, he looks like the guy from House of Cards, where it's like he's, all well put together and just super friendly and nice. But behind the scenes, he knows all the people, shakes all the hands, has all the connections, and is just biding his time for when it is his time. And potentially, it could be right now in an election cycle where he knows that the president might get taken out.
I guess, should we go live here? Are we starting this debate?
I think we're first questions.
Okay. So I guess I guess she's just doing a brief introduction right now.
Going over the rules,
Sure.
I guess you're not allowed to ask people questions. But of course, there are ways around that. I forget who earlier was saying, McBreen was actually saying, if it was me, I'd say something like, well, if I could ask one thing of Hillary Clinton, so there's got to be a way to kind of get it in there without breaking the rules.
I think
they're certainly not going to ask her.
He might be making an opening statement right now. What is that lapel pin he has on?
I am unsure.
Anybody ever seen a lapel pin like that? Hey, Tim.
Is that
Kaine,
North Korea?
Lapel pin right
is
here?
that China?
This is an American flag, Tim. You ever heard of this? What do you got on there, buddy?
It's funny because Hillary Clinton didn't wear one either. I think that's, the UN flag.
Seriously, what is that?
It's a white with a red dot in the middle.
I've never seen a lapel pin like that.
And he's got two mics just in case one of them is bad. Guys, are we getting any audio from this? Because I can't hear.
I just want. So Tim Kaine knows.
I would hope that.
There he is.
Thank you.
If the responsibility ever fell to me in this role, that I would meet it with the way that I'm going to meet the responsibility should I be elected Vice President of the United States. And that's to bring a lifetime of experience, a lifetime growing up in a small town, a lifetime where I've served in the Congress of the United States, where I've led a state that works in the great state of Indiana, and whatever other responsibilities might follow from this. I would hope, and frankly,
Kaine is already furiously writing away his response.
That lifetime of experience.
Senator Kaine, on the campaign trail, you praise Secretary Clinton's character, including her commitment to public service. Yet 60% of voters don't think she's trustworthy. Why do so many people distrust her? Is it because they have questions about her emails?
Why do so many people distrust her?
Why isn't she 50 points ahead?
People should look at as they look at a public servant. Do they have a passion in their life that showed up before they were in public life, and have they held on to that passion throughout their life, regardless of whether they were in office or not, succeeding or failing? Hillary Clinton has that passion. From a time as a kid in a Methodist youth group in the suburbs of Chicago, she has been focused on serving others with a...
Well, I know Hillary Clinton has pursued power, and, you know, if he's sitting here talking about, you know, have they started something before they got into public life and, you know, carried that on and didn't have any effect on, you know, their office. She has been in politics for decades. She had her sights on power from a very young age, which is why I think she aligned with Bill Clinton. He also had his sights on power, and why she was willing to look the other way through all of his scandals, because her sights were set on fundamentally changing this country and being the first woman president.
We've seen an economy stifled by more taxes, more regulation, a war on coal, and a failing health care reform come to be known as Obamacare. And the American people know that we need to make a change. And so I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight. I also want to thank Donald Trump.
So just so you guys know, we just refreshed our feed.
I have to tell you, I'm a small town boy from a place not too different from Farmville. I grew up with a cornfield in my backyard. My grandfather had immigrated to this country when he was about my son's age. My mom and dad built everything that matters in a small town in southern Indiana. They built a family and a good name and a business, and they raised a family. And I dreamed someday of representing my hometown in Washington, D.C., but honestly, Elaine, I never imagined I'd have the opportunity to be governor of the state that I love, let alone be sitting at a table like this, in this kind of a position. So to answer your question, I would say I would hope that if the responsibility ever fell to me in this role, that I would meet it with the way that I'm going to meet the responsibility should I be elected Vice President of the United States. And that's to bring a lifetime of experience. A lifetime growing up in a small town, a lifetime where I've served in the Congress of the United States, where I've led a state that works in the great state of Indiana, and whatever other responsibilities might follow from this. I would hope, and frankly, I would pray to be able to meet that moment with that lifetime of experience.
Senator Kaine, on the campaign trail, you praise Secretary Clinton's character, including her commitment to public service. Yet 60% of voters don't think she's trustworthy. Why do so many people distrust her? Is it because they have questions about her emails and the Clinton family?
Because she's a liar.
Because
let me
she's
tell
a
you
liar.
why I trust Hillary Clinton.
Haiti, Bill's
Here's
rapes.
what people should look at as they look at a public servant. Do they have a passion in their life that showed up before they were in public life, and have they held on to that passion throughout their life, regardless of whether they were in office or not, succeeding or failing?
Like I said, power.
Hillary Clinton has that passion. From a time as a kid in a Methodist youth group in the suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, my goodness.
She has been focused
she's
on
just a
serving
good old
others
granny.
with
I love her.
a special focus on empowering families and kids. As a civil rights lawyer in the South with the Children's Defense Fund, First Lady of Arkansas, and this country's Senator, Secretary of State, it's always been about putting others first. person. That's a sharp contrast with Donald Trump. Donald Trump always puts himself
jobs
first.
creator.
He built a business career, in the words of one of his own campaign staffers, off the backs of the little guy. And as
isn't this so typical? When asked to defend or talk about Hillary Clinton, he has to backtrack and attack Donald Trump. This is so typical.
Yeah, why don't people trust her? We know she's been in office. She didn't do anything while she was there. I think she named a post office. That was one of her big official bills she was able to pass.
Be a citizen of the United States. And I can't imagine how Governor Pence can defend the insult-driven, selfish, me-first style of Donald Trump.
Governor That's what he just did. His answer was insult-driven. Complete
just like
hypocrite.
The people of Haiti are wondering why don't they have any of that money that went into the Clinton Foundation because she's so generous and giving.
65% feel he does not have the right kind of temperament to be president. Why do so many Americans think Mr. Trump is simply too erratic?
Well, let me say first and foremost that Senator, you and Hillary Clinton would know a lot about an insult-driven campaign.
Boom!
It really is remarkable. At a time when literally, in the wake of Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, where she was the architect of the Obama administration's foreign policy, we see entire portions of the world, particularly the wider Middle East, literally spinning out of control. I mean, the situation we're watching hour by hour in Syria today is a result of the failed foreign policy and the weak foreign policy that Hillary Clinton helped lead in this administration and create. The newly emboldened the aggression of Russia, whether it was in Ukraine or now their heavy-handed approach. Their heavy-handed approach.
You both have said Vladimir Putin is a veteran.
He had to
Bring in the
interrupt.
Russians. Oh, pooty poot.
But in the midst,
You're a Russian agent.
Thank you, Senator.
You guys have praised Vladimir Putin as a great leader. How can they defend that?
So wait a second now. This is now Tim Kaine has just interrupted Mike Pence, and then the moderator joined in on it. Unbelievable.
Great challenge in the life of this nation.
While he was dominating.
Weakened America's place in the world, stifled America's economy.
And I like it.
The campaign of Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine has been an avalanche.
Didn't let it shake him up.
Look, to get to your question about trustworthiness, Donald Trump has built a business through hard times and through good times. He's brought an extraordinary business acumen. He's employed.
So you are watching the live feed of Infowars.com/show. Spread the link. We are here covering the VP debate. Share this link. Facebook and Twitter. Infowars.com/show.
The trustworthiness of Hillary Clinton, and that's because they're paying attention. I mean, the reality is when she was Secretary of State, Senator, come on. She had a Clinton Foundation accepting contributions from foreign governments.
You are Donald Trump's apprentice. Let me talk about this
Senator,
issue.
What did he say? A Donald Trump supremacist? Is that what he just said? Did he just make that up?
Or apprentice? I don't know.
Let me interrupt you and finish my sentence if I can. The Clinton Foundation accepted
he's already rattled Kane
from forein governments and foreign donors while she was Secretary of State.
Now I can weigh.
She had a private server.
I get to weigh in.
That was discovered
I did raise. Senator,
to keep that pay-to-play process.
You have an opportunity to
I'm not finished talking about all of her scandals.
I think the world's going so well, and he, is going to say it's everybody's fault.
Do you?
It's everybody's fault. No, it's Hillary Clinton's. He literally said that.
Do you know that Osama bin Laden was alive?
Yes.
Do you know that we had 175,000 troops deployed in the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan? Do you know that Iran was racing toward a nuclear weapon and Russia was expanding its stockpile? Under Secretary Clinton's leadership, she was part of the national team, public safety team that
was selling them weapons,
revived the dormant hunt against bin Laden and wiped him off the face of the earth.
Oh
my gosh. She worked to deal with the Russians to reduce their chemical weapons.
She personally helped take them out.
She worked a tough negotiation.
And now Iran is closer to having nuclear weapons than ever.
Eliminate the Iranian nuclear weapons program without firing a shot.
Eliminate.
Absolutely, without
until you send them billions of dollars in weapons.
175,000 American troops deployed overseas. We now have 15,000.
Right, and
that was a great idea.
Iraq has been overrun by ISIS.
Right, exactly.
Hillary Clinton failed to renegotiate.
More American troops.
Hillary Clinton.
This is the Democrats downplaying terror because they know that they have spread terror worldwide. Hillary Clinton was largely a part of that, and so they're downplaying terror here. Once again.
And overrun vast areas of Iraq.
President Bush said we would leave Iraq at the end of 2011. And Elaine, Iraq didn't want our troops to stay, and they wouldn't give us the protection for our troops. And guess what? If a nation where our troops are serving does not want us to stay, we're not going to stay without them being protected.
It was a failure of the Secretary of State.
If Governor Pence wants to put more troops
there are a
back
lot
in
of
Iraq,
people
that's
wondering in this country about the economy.
Right.
Let's turn to the issue of the economy. According to the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, neither of your economic plans will reduce the growing $19 trillion gross national debt. In fact, your plans would add even more to it. Both of you were governors who balanced state budgets. Are you concerned that adding more to the debt could be disastrous for the country? Governor Pence.
I think the fact that under this past administration, of which Hillary Clinton was a part, we've almost doubled the national debt, is atrocious. I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that I come from a state that works. The state of Indiana has balanced budgets. We cut taxes. We made record investments in education and in infrastructure. And I still finished my term with $2 billion in the bank. That's a little bit different than when Senator Kane was governor here in Virginia. He actually tried to raise taxes by about $4 billion. He left his state about $2 billion in the hole. The state of Indiana, we've cut unemployment in half.
Democratic way.
Unemployment doubled when he was governor. But I think he's a very fitting running mate for Hillary Clinton. Because in the wake of a season where American families are struggling in this economy, under the weight of higher taxes and Obamacare and the war on coal and the stifling avalanche of regulation coming out of this administration, Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine want more of the same. It really is remarkable that they actually are advocating $1 trillion in tax increases, which I get that. You tried to raise taxes here in Virginia and were unsuccessful. But $1 trillion in tax increases, more regulation, more of the same war on coal, and more of Obamacare that now even former President Bill Clinton calls Obamacare a crazy plan. But Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine want to build on Obamacare. They want to expand it into a single-payer program. And for all the world, Hillary Clinton just thinks Obamacare is a good start. Look, Donald Trump and I have a plan to get this economy moving again. Just the way that it worked in the 1980s, just the way it worked in the 1960s, and that is by lowering taxes across the board for working families, small businesses, and family farms, ending the war on coal that is hurting jobs and hurting this economy, even here in Virginia, repealing Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel, and repealing all of the executive orders that Barack Obama has signed that are stifling economic growth in this economy. We can get America moving again. Put on top of that the kind of trade deals that'll put the American worker first, and you've got a prescription for real growth. And when you get the economy growing, Elaine, that's when you can deal with the national debt. When we get back to 3.5% to 4% growth, with Donald Trump's plan will do, then we're going to have the resources to meet our nation's needs at home and abroad, and we're going to have the ability to bring down the national debt.
Senator Kaine.
Elaine, on the economy, there's a fundamental choice for the American electorate. Do you want a you're hired president in Hillary Clinton, or do you want a you're fired president in Donald Trump?
Yeah, you're fired globalists.
Right back on the attack.
Fire in the globalists.
You're hired plan. 5 components.
What jobs has she created?
Who
is she hired?
Manufacturing, infrastructure, and research in the
other than people that wipe for
Foundation
server.
People employed.
Yeah, Correct the Record employs internet trolls.
A lot of tech people to help her set up her private server.
Tuition-free college for families that make less than $125,000 a year.
Then she pays her daughter $1
we
million
promote fairness
a year.
by raising the minimum wage so you can't work full-time and be under the poverty level, and by paying women.
Yeah, and that will get you fired because robot workers will take over, and you will no longer have a job because the owner of that business won't be able to hire you at $15 an hour. So you'll get fired.
Business families. My dad, who ran an iron working and welding shop, is here tonight. And 5th, we have a tax plan that targets tax relief to middle-class individuals and small businesses and asks those at the very top who've benefited as we've come out of recession to pay more. The Trump plan is a different plan. It's a you're fired plan, and there's 2 key elements to it.
Ooh, they worked on those buzzwords,
Donald Trump said
didn't they?
Wages are too high. And both Donald Trump and Mike Pence think we ought to eliminate the federal minimum wage. Mike Pence, when he was in Congress, voted against raising the minimum wage above $5.15.
Well, robots replace fast food workers.
Bulwark against minimum wage increases in Indiana. The second component of the plan is massive tax breaks for the very top. Trillions of dollars of tax breaks for people just like Donald Trump.
And Hillary Clinton.
Elaine, is that's exactly.
But he's not going to talk about the middle class tax breaks, and even those making under $25,000 pay no tax. Oh, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Independent analysts say the Clinton plan would grow the economy by 10.5 million jobs. The Trump plan would cost 3.5 million jobs. And Donald Trump, why would he do this? Because his tax plan basically helps him. And if he ever met his promise, and he gave his tax returns to the American public like he said he would.
After Hillary gives the emails.
How much his economic plan is really a Trump first plan.
On that point, Governor Pence recently, the New York Times.
Yeah, it's a Trump first plan. This guy is spending millions and millions of dollars of his own money. And yet he's doing this to make money. That's such a joke.
Said he brilliantly used the laws to pay as little tax as legally possible.
So did Hillary Clinton.
Well, first, let me.
So does anyone if they're.
I appreciate the "you're hired, you're fired" thing.
No one likes it, but it's legal.
Use that a whole lot, and I think your running mate used a lot of pre-done lines. Look, what you all just heard out there is more taxes, $2 trillion in more spending, more deficits, more debt, more government. And if you think that's all working, then you look at the other side of the table. I mean, the truth of the matter is the policies of this administration, which Hillary Clinton and Senator Kaine want to continue, have run this economy into a ditch. We're in the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression.
15 million
There are millions more people living in poverty today than the day that Barack Obama, with Hillary Clinton at his side,
and the poverty
stepped
level
into the Oval
and the median
Office.
income
We have the lowest
improved dramatically between 2014 and 2015.
Those jobs are going to go to illegal immigrants, by the way.
The numbers and the sunny side, but I got to tell you, people in Scranton, no different. People in Fort Wayne, Indiana, no different. I mean, this economy is struggling. And the answer to this economy is not more taxes.
But it's not to give away tax relief to the folks at the top. And so I am interested to hearing whether he'll defend his running mates not releasing taxes.
Absolutely, I will.
Governor, with all due respect, the question was about whether it seems fair to you that Mr. Trump said he brilliantly used the laws to pay as little tax as legally possible.
Well, this is probably the difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and Senator Kaine. I mean, Hillary Clinton and Senator Kaine, and God bless you for it, career public servants, that's great. Donald Trump is a businessman, not a career politician. He actually built a business. Those tax returns that came out publicly this week showed that he faced some pretty tough times 20 years ago. But like virtually every other business, including the New York Times not too long ago, he used what's called net operating loss. We have a tax code, Senator, that actually is designed to encourage entrepreneurship.
But why won't he release his tax return?
Well, we're answering the question about the business thing.
I do want to come back on this.
His tax returns that showed he went through a very difficult time, but he used the tax code just the way it's supposed to be used, and he did it brilliantly.
How do you know that? You haven't seen his tax return.
Because he's created a business that's worth billions of dollars today.
How do you know that?
And with regard to paying taxes, this whole riff about not paying taxes,
property tax, federal taxes, employee taxes.
He didn't pay taxes for years. Donald Trump has created tens of thousands of jobs, and he's paid payroll taxes, sales taxes.
Senator, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to respond, and I have a question on Social Security.
Hillary Clinton is going to raise taxes, and Donald Trump and I are going to cut them.
Donald Trump started this campaign in 2014. He said, if I run for president, I will absolutely release my taxes. He's broken his first promise. Second, he stood on the stage last.
It's not a constitutional requirement to become president.
And when Hillary said you haven't been paying taxes, he said that makes me smart. So it's smart not to pay for our military. It's smart not to pay for veterans. It's smart not to pay for teachers. And I guess all of us who do pay for those things, I guess we're stupid. And the last thing I'll say
Senator,
is this.
do you take all the deductions that you're entitled to?
The last thing I want to ask Governor Pence.
I do.
Exactly.
Governor Pence had to give Donald Trump his tax returns to show he was qualified to be vice president. Donald Trump must give the American public his tax returns to show that he's qualified to be president, and he's breaking his promise.
Elaine, I have to respond to this.
You get very little time.
Is anyone surprised if a billionaire takes advantage of the really messed up tax code? I'm not.
Disclosure, which is what the law requires.
And it's already been admitted. Google, Microsoft, GE all do the exact same thing that Donald Trump does with his
taxes. put their businesses overseas to avoid taxes, and Hillary Clinton wants to raise the business tax even higher, which is going to send those businesses the other way. It doesn't make sense. These people are insane. They're trying to trick you.
To wait until it is that the other is finished.
All right,
Senator
we're having
Kaine,
fun up here.
On the issue of Social Security, in 18 years...
You are watching the live feed of Infowars.com/show. Spread the link.
For a responsible federal budget estimates your benefits could be cut by as much as $7,500 per year. What would your administration do to prevent this cut?
First, we're going to protect Social Security, which was one of the greatest programs that the American government has ever done. It happened at a
even
time
though it's going to be broke in 4 years.
Yeah, but they got to say that.
Raising your kids, working.
The entitlement programs are going broke. Greatest thing ever, according to this guy.
Yeah.
And Social Security has enabled people to retire with dignity and overwhelmingly not be in poverty. We have to keep it solvent, and we will keep it solvent. And we'll look for strategies like adjusting the payroll tax cap upward in order to do that. Here's what Hillary and I will not
More
do.
taxes. I think that's what that sounds like.
And I want to make this
higher
very
taxes.
clear. We will never, ever engage in a risky scheme to privatize Social Security. Donald Trump wrote a book, and he said Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, and privatization would be good for all of us.
Wow, I like Donald Trump more now. Well, thanks, Donald. About time someone said it.
Privatization of Social Security.
This guy's campaigning for Trump.
For it. Congressman Pence kept pushing for it. We're going to stand up against efforts to privatize Social Security, and we'll look for ways to keep it solvent going forward, focusing primarily on
more government control, and more taxes.
To respond.
Well, I will translate that for you.
Thanks, Elaine. There they go again.
Yeah.
Okay. All Donald Trump and I have said about Social Security is we're going to meet our obligations to our seniors. That's it.
Go read the book.
We've said we're going to meet the obligations of Medicare. That's what this campaign is really about, Senator. And I get this is the old scare tactic that they roll out.
You have a voting record,
and I get
I
all
like
of that.
this guy. I'm glad we're finally getting a chance to
There's
get
a
to know
question
him.
that you asked a little bit earlier that I have to go
won't
back
defend
to.
your own voting record.
I have to go back to. Well, look, you're running with Hillary Clinton, who wants to raise taxes by $1 trillion, increase spending by $2 trillion. And you say you're going to keep the promises of Social Security. Donald Trump and I are going to cut taxes. We're going to reform government programs.
You're going to raise taxes on the middle class.
So we can meet the obligations of Social Security.
So is Hillary Clinton.
All right, if we stay on the path that your party has us on, we're going to be in a mountain range of debt, and we're going to face hard choices.
Gentlemen, I want to move on now.
You did ask us a question about debt, and the debt explosion on the Trump plan is much, much bigger than anything on the Clinton side.
All right, let me move on now to the issue of law enforcement and race relations. Law enforcement and race relations. After the Dallas police shooting, Police Chief David Brown said, quote, "We're asking cops to do too much in this country. Every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding, not enough drug addiction funding. Schools fail. Let's give it to the cops." Do we ask too much of police officers in this country? And how would you specifically address the chief's concerns, Senator Kaine?
Elaine, I think that's a very fair comment. I think we put a lot on police shoulders. And this is something I got a lot of scar tissue and experience on. I was a city councilman and mayor in Richmond. And when I came in, we had one of the highest homicide rates in the United States. We fought very, very hard over the course of my time in local office with our police department, and we reduced our homicide rate nearly in half. And then when I was governor of Virginia, we worked hard too. And we did something we had really wanted to do. For the first time ever, we cracked the top 10 safest states because we worked together. Here's what I learned as a mayor and a governor. The way you make communities safer and the way you make police safer is through community policing. You build the bonds between the community and the police force, build bonds of understanding, and then when people feel comfortable in their communities, that gap between the police and the communities they serve narrows. And when that gap narrows, it's safer for the communities and it's safer for the police. That model still works across our country, but there are some other models that don't work. An overly aggressive, more militarized model. Donald Trump recently said we need to do more stop and frisk around the country. That would be a big mistake because it polarizes the relationship between the police and the community. So here's what we'll do. We'll focus on community policing. We will focus on, and Hillary Clinton has rolled out a really comprehensive mental health reform package that she worked on with law enforcement professionals. And we will also fight the scourge of gun violence in the United States. I'm a gun owner. I'm a strong Second Amendment supporter. But I got a lot of scar tissue because when I was governor of Virginia, there was a horrible shooting at Virginia Tech. And we learned that through that painful situation, that gaps in the background record check system should have been closed, and it could have prevented that crime. And so we're going to work to do things like close background record checks. And if we do, we won't have the tragedies that we did. One of those killed at Virginia Tech was a guy named Liviu Librescu. He was a 70-plus-year-old Romanian Holocaust survivor. He'd survived the Holocaust. Then he survived the Soviet Union takeover of his country. But then he was a visiting professor at Virginia Tech, and he couldn't survive the scourge of gun violence. We can support the Second Amendment and do things like background record checks and make us safer, and that'll make police safer too.
Governor Pence.
You know, my uncle was a cop, a career cop, on the beat in downtown Chicago. He was my hero when I was growing up. When we go up to visit my dad's family in Chicago, my three brothers and I would marvel at my uncle when he would come out in his uniform, sidearm at his side. Police officers are the best of us. I mean, men and women, white, African American, Asian, Latino, Hispanic, they put their lives on the line every single day. And let me say, at the risk of agreeing with you, community policing is a great idea. Mm-hmm. It's worked to be able to really restore law and order to the cities and communities of this nation. It's probably why the 330,000 members of the Fraternal Order Police endorsed Donald Trump as the next president of the United States of America, because they see his commitment to them. They see his commitment to law and order. But they a reason to use a broad brush to accuse law enforcement of implicit bias or institutional racism. And that really has got to stop. I mean, when an African-American police officer in Charlotte named Brentley Vinson, an all-star football player who went to Liberty University here in the state, came home, followed his dad into law enforcement, joined the force in Charlotte in 2014, was involved in a police action shooting that claimed the life of Keith Lamont Scott. It was a tragedy. I mean, we mourn with those who mourn. We grieve with those who grieve. We're saddened at the loss of life. But Hillary Clinton actually referred to that moment as an example of implicit bias in the police force, where she used, when she was asked in the debate a week ago whether there was implicit bias in law enforcement, her only answer was that there's implicit bias in everyone in the United States. I just think what we ought to do is we ought to stop seizing on these moments of tragedy. We ought to assure the public that we'll have a full and complete and transparent investigation whenever there's a loss of life because of police action. But Senator, please, enough of this seeking every opportunity to demean law enforcement broadly by making the accusation of implicit bias every time tragedy occurs.
Elaine, people shouldn't be afraid to bring up issues of bias in law enforcement.
Pence
and if you're afraid to have if you're afraid to have the discussion, you'll never solve it.
Kane is triggered.
And so here's an example, heartbreaking. We would agree this is a heartbreaking example. The guy Philando Castile, who was killed in St. Paul.
He just said, please stop exploiting.
A valued worker in a local school.
And here we go.
And he was killed for no apparent reason in an incident that will be discussed and will be investigated. But when folks went and explored this situation, what they found is that Philando Castile, who was they called him Mr. Rogers with dreadlocks in the school that he worked. The kids loved him. That he had been stopped by police 40 or 50 times before that fatal incident. And if you look at sentencing in this country, African Americans and Latinos get sentenced for the same crimes at very different rates.
That's Bill Clinton's legislation. That's Bill Clinton's mandatory minimum legislation and the war on drugs combined. Let's see if Tim Kaine brings that up.
We'll never solve the problem.
When an African-American police officer is involved in a police action shooting involving an African-American, why would Hillary Clinton accuse that African-American police officer of implicit bias?
I guess I can't believe you are defending the position that there is no bias and it's a topic.
No, he's defending the truth.
Did not make that statement.
Your fellow Republican, Governor Pence, Senator Tim Scott, who is African-American, recently spoke on the Senate floor. He said he was stopped 7 times by law enforcement in 1 year.
A U.S.
He
Senator.
said, I have felt the anger, the frustration, the sadness, and the humiliation that comes with feeling like you're being targeted for nothing more than being just yourself. What would you say to Senator Scott about his experiences?
Well, I have the deepest respect for Senator Scott, and he's a close friend. And what I would say is that we need to adopt criminal justice reform nationally. I signed criminal justice reform in the state of Indiana, Senator, and we're very proud of it. I worked when I was in Congress on the Second Chance Act. We have got to do a better job recognizing and correcting the errors in the system that do reflect an institutional bias in criminal justice. But what Donald Trump and I are saying is, let's not have the reflex of assuming the worst of men and women in law enforcement. We truly do believe that law enforcement is not a force for racism or division in our country.
Scott, Governor?
Law enforcement in this country is a force for good. They truly are people that put their lives on the line every single day. But I would suggest to you, what we need to do is assert a stronger leadership at the national level to support law enforcement. You just heard Senator Kaine reject a stop and frisk. Well, I would suggest to you that the families that live in our inner cities that are besieged by crime...
Elaine,
What would you tell Senator Scott?
If I could, Jeff, but I've heard Senator Scott make that eloquent plea. And look, criminal justice is about respecting the law and being respected by the law. So there is a fundamental respect issue here. And I just want to talk about the tone that's set from the top. Donald Trump during this campaign has called Mexicans rapists and criminals.
Oh,
He's
my
called
God.
women slobs, pigs, dogs, disgusting.
Ooh.
I don't like saying that in front of my wife.
He quoted that verbatim. Hillary Clinton said that verbatim.
An Indiana-born federal judge and said he was unqualified
You've been trained well,
to federal
puppy.
lawsuit because his parents were Mexican. He went after John McCain, a POW, and said he wasn't a hero because he'd been captured. He said African Americans are living in hell, and he perpetrated this outrageous and bigoted lie that President Obama is not a U.S. citizen. If you want to have a society where people are respected and respect laws, you can't have somebody at the top who demeans every group that he talks about. And I cannot believe...
Basement dwellers, a basket of deplorables, super predators.
Our next segment now, immigration. Your running mates have both
This is funny. So Mike Pence speaks, and Mike Pence talks about policies and issues, whether you agree or disagree. Tim Kaine speaks and attacks Donald Trump.
Right.
Governor Pence.
Well, Donald Trump's laid out a plan to end illegal immigration once and for all in this country. We've been talking it to death for 20 years. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine want to continue the policies of open borders, amnesty, catch and release, sanctuary cities, all the things that are driving wages down in this country, Senator. And also, too often, with criminal aliens in the country, it's bringing heartbreak. But Donald Trump has a plan that he laid out in Arizona that will deal systematically with illegal immigration, beginning with border security, internal enforcement. It's probably why, for the first time in the history of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, their union actually endorsed Donald Trump as the next president of the United States, because they know they need help to enforce the laws of this country. And Donald Trump has laid out a priority to remove criminal aliens, remove people that have overstayed their visas. And once we have accomplished all of that, which will strengthen our economy, strengthen the rule of law in the country, and make our communities safer once the criminal aliens are out, then we'll deal with those that remain.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I was listening to the avalanche of insults coming out of Senator Kaine.
These were Donald's...
Back it up.
Hold on a second,
It's my
Governor.
time, Senator.
It is, in fact, the governor's time.
I apologize. This is your 2 minutes.
Thanks, I forgive you. He says ours is an insult-driven campaign. Did you all just hear that? Ours is an insult-driven campaign. I mean, to be honest with you, if Donald Trump had said all the things that you said he said, in the way you said he said them, he still wouldn't have a fraction of the insults that Hillary Clinton leveled when she said that half of our supporters were a basket of deplorables. She said they were irredeemable. They were not America. I mean, it's extraordinary. And then she laid one after another ism on millions of Americans who believe that we can have a stronger America at home and abroad, who believe we can get this economy moving again, who believe that we can end illegal immigration once and for all. So, Senator, this insult-driven campaign, I mean, that's small potatoes compared to Hillary Clinton calling half of Donald Trump's supporters a basket of deplorables.
Hillary Clinton said something on the campaign trail.
Basement
the very
dwellers.
next day she said, you know what, I
Bernie Sanders supporters are basement dwellers.
Governor, this is Senator Kane's 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, that's right. So now we're even.
Yeah.
Triggered. Take your Grinch eyebrows somewhere else.
Apologizing to John McCain for saying he
Can't
wasn't
take him
a hero.
seriously.
Did Donald Trump apologize for calling women slobs, pigs, dogs, disgusting?
She apologized for saying...
Governor, it is his 2 minutes, please.
Sexist, xenophobic, racist.
Hey, she never interrupted Kane when he was interrupting Mike. What's up with that?
Living in hell? Did he apologize for saying President Obama was not even a citizen of the United States? You will look in vain to see Donald Trump ever taking
constitutional requirement to prove that you are a citizen, a natural-born citizen, and that is a constitutional requirement.
Donald Trump believes in deportation nation. You got to pick your choice. Hillary and I want a bipartisan reform that will put keeping families together as the top goal. Second, that will help focus enforcement efforts on those who are violent. Third, that will do more border.
That's the second. That's the second most important thing.
For those
and that's entirely wrong.
Taxes, play by the rules, and take criminal background record checks. That's our proposal.
So he didn't mention the real proposal.
To deport 16 million people.
Over 100,000 immigrants a year through the refugee program. He does not mention that part of the proposal, though. He does not mention the fact that Hillary Clinton could have upwards of 1 million immigrants just forced into this country as citizens. He doesn't mention that.
Fast track citizenship.
Business to business. And kick out 16 million people. And I cannot believe that Governor Pence would sit here and defend his running mate's claim that we should create a deportation force so that they'll all be gone.
Senator, we have a deportation force. It's called Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. And the Union for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, for the first time in their history, endorsed Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States.
So you like the 16 million deportation plan?
Senator, that's nonsense.
You like the refugee plan that's going to single-handedly take down this country and give federal funding so Syrians can rebuild Detroit.
Plan from 1986.
They call it comprehensive immigration reform on Capitol Hill. We all know the routine. It's amnesty. And you heard one of the last things he mentioned was border security. That's how Washington always plays it.
No,
so
I always say we're going to do this, for border security 3 years ago, and Governor Pence was against it.
Governor, Mr.
Ronald
Trump
Reagan
has
said a nation without borders is not a nation. Donald Trump is committed to restoring the borders of this nation,
so, Governor,
securing our nation.
How would these millions of undocumented immigrants leave? Would they be forcibly removed?
Well, I think Donald Trump laid out a series of priorities that doesn't end with border security. It begins with border security. And after we secure the border, not only build a wall, but beneath the ground and in the air, we do internal enforcement. But he said the focus has to be on criminal aliens. We just had a conversation about law enforcement. We just had a conversation about the violence that's besetting our cities. The reality is that there's heartbreak and tragedy that has struck American families because people that came into this country illegally are now involved in criminal enterprise and activity, and we don't have the resources or the will to deport them systematically. Donald Trump has said we're going to move those people out, people who've overstayed their visas. We're going to enforce the law of this country. We're going to strengthen immigrations and customs enforcements with more resources and more personnel to be able to do that. And then Donald Trump has made it clear, once we've done all of those things, that we're going to reform the immigration system that we have where people can come into this country. That's the order that you should do it. Border security, removing criminal aliens, upholding the law, and then, Senator, I'll work with you when you go back to the Senate. I promise you. We'll work with you to reform the immigration system.
I look forward to working together in whatever capacities we serve in, but I just want to make it very, very clear that he's trying to fuzz up what Donald Trump has said. When Donald Trump spoke,
no, that's what you're doing.
The audience in the eye,
that's what the Clinton campaign and the Clinton News Network and all the leftist liberal media shills do to Donald Trump. This guy Tim Kaine is really showing his true colors. A total fraud.
See what Donald Trump has said, and to add to it, we are a nation of immigrants. Mike Pence and I both are descended from
legal immigrants. Jeez.
You know, we weren't said so great about the Irish when they came, but we've done well by absorbing immigrants, and it's made our nation stronger. When Donald Trump says Mexicans are rapists and criminals, Mexican immigrants, when Donald Trump says,
mind you, he said that after visiting the border when all of these people were flooding across the border. Border Patrol is begging him for help. He's the only person that actually went to the border, and of course he made those comments there when he witnessed it with his own eyes. Obama refused to visit the border.
How can you sit here and deny the fact that there are illegal immigrants coming here and raping and murdering people?
And getting away with it.
After case after case of this.
Because bin Laden is dead. The terrorist threat has decreased in some ways because an Iranian nuclear weapons program has been stopped. The terrorist threat to United States troops has been decreased in some ways because there's not 175,000.
You are watching the live feed of the vice presidential debate at INFOWARS.com/show. Spread the link.
You know what? Tim Kaine just said that the risk of terrorism against police has decreased in this country. That is a absolute bold-faced lie. You have mobs of people walking through the streets chanting "kill police."
Right.
Okay, they can be directly related to Black Lives Matter. Not saying they're all
attacks against cops are up.
But the fact that he just said that's not happening. Terrorism against police has increased in this country. You can thank the Obama administration for that, Tim Kaine.
The head of ISIS. Second, we got to disrupt financing networks. Third, disrupt their ability to recruit on the internet in their safe havens. But fourth, we also have to work with allies to share and surge intelligence. That's the Hillary Clinton plan. She's got the experience to do it. Donald Trump. Donald Trump can't start a Twitter war with Miss Universe without shooting himself in the foot. Donald Trump doesn't have a plan. He said, I have a secret plan. And then he said, I know more than all the generals about ISIL. And then he said, I'm going to call the generals to help me figure out a plan. And finally, he said, I'm going to fire all the generals. He doesn't have a plan. But he does have dangerous ideas. Here's four. He trash talks the military. The military is a disaster. John McCain's no hero.
Yeah, that's why the military is backing him.
Yeah, that's why the military endorses Trump.
He wants to tear up alliances. NATO is obsolete and will only work together with Israel if they pay big league. Third, he loves dictators. He's got kind of a personal Mount Rushmore. Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un,
Can I get a Doc Ham on
and Saddam
this
Hussein.
exclusive picture of Tim Kaine?
Donald Trump believes believes that the world will be safer if more nations have nuclear weapons. He said Saudi Arabia should get them, Japan should get them, Korea should get them. And when he was confronted with this and told, wait a minute, terrorists could get those, proliferation could lead to nuclear war, here's what Donald Trump said, and I quote, go ahead, folks, enjoy yourselves. I'd love to hear Governor Pence tell me what's so enjoyable or comical about nuclear war.
Governor Pence.
I don't know. Let's ask Hillary.
There's the real dark heart.
Because that had a lot of good creative lines in it.
Well, I'm going to see if you can defend any of it.
Look, I can defend. I can make it very clear to the American people. After traveling millions of miles as our Secretary of State, after being the architect of the foreign policy of this administration, America is less safe today than it was the day that Barack Obama became President of the United States. It's absolutely inarguable. We've weakened America's place in the world. It's been a combination of factors, but mostly it's been a lack of leadership. I mean, I will give you, and I was in Washington, D.C. on 9/11. I saw the clouds of smoke rise from the Pentagon.
I was in Virginia, where the Pentagon's
Oh, good for you.
We all lived through that day as a nation. It was heartbreaking.
Still looking for that plane.
I want to give this president credit for bringing Osama bin Laden to justice. But the truth is, Osama bin Laden led al-Qaeda. Our primary threat today is ISIS. And because Hillary Clinton failed to renegotiate
the JV
the Status
team
of Forces agreement that would have allowed some American combat troops to remain in Iraq and secure the hard-fought gains the American soldier had won by 2009, ISIS was able to be literally conjured up out of the desert, and it's overrun vast areas that the American soldier had won in Operation Iraqi Freedom. My heart breaks for the likes of Lance Corporal Scott Zubowski. He fell in Fallujah in 2005. He fought hard through some of the most difficult days in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedom and secure that nation. And that nation was secured in 2009. But because Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama failed to provide a status of forces agreement and leave sufficient troops in there, we are back at war. The president just ordered more troops on the ground. We are back at war in Iraq. And Scott Zubowski, whose mom would always come to Memorial Day events in Newcastle, Indiana to see me, and I'd always give her a hug and tell her we're never going to forget our son, and we never will. Scott Zubowski and the sacrifices the American soldier made were squandered in Iraq because this administration created a vacuum in which ISIS was able to grow. And a reference to the Iranian deal that Hillary Clinton initiated, $150 billion
stopping a
to the
nuclear
radical
weapons
mullahs
program
in
without
Iran.
firing a shot.
You didn't stop the nuclear weapons program. You
Even the Israeli military says it's
guaranteed that Iran will someday become a nuclear power because there's no limitations once the period of time of the treaty comes off.
Governor Pence, Mr. Trump has proposed extreme vetting of immigrants from parts of the world that export terrorism, but that does not address many of the recent terrorist attacks in the United States, such as the Orlando nightclub massacre and the recent bombings in New York and New Jersey. Those were homegrown.
Hillary Clinton stood down on the mosque that Omar Mateen visited. Hillary Clinton said it wasn't a bomb in New York.
Well, I think it's a great question, Elaine. But it really does begin with us reforming our immigration system and putting the interests, particularly the safety and security of the American people first. I mean, Donald Trump has called for extreme vetting for people coming in to this country so that we don't bring people into the United States who are hostile to our Bill of Rights freedoms, who are hostile to the American way of life. But also, Donald Trump and I are committed to suspending the Syrian refugee program and programs and immigration from areas of the world that have been compromised by terrorism. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine want to increase the Syrian refugee program by 500.
Elaine, I want to tell you about our plan.
Homegrown.
Yeah.
And so, but first, let's make sure we're putting the safety and security of the American people first, instead of Hillary Clinton expanding the Syrian
or instead of
program.
you violating the Constitution by blocking people based on their national origin rather than whether they're dangerous.
That's absolutely false.
That's what the Seventh Circuit decided. Here's the difference.
The Seventh Circuit.
We have different views on refugee issues and on immigration. Hillary and I want to do enforcement based on, are people dangerous? These guys say all Mexicans are bad. And with respect to refugees, we want to keep people out if they're dangerous. Donald Trump said keep them out if they're Muslim. Mike Pence put a program in place to keep them out if they're from Syria.
Don't agree with our ideology.
3 Republican judges struck down the Pence plan and said it was discriminatory.
And those judges,
we should focus upon danger.
Yeah, discriminatory against dangerous people.
Those judges said it was because
that's what you're talking about. But you twist the words.
That ISIS had infiltrated the United States. Well, Germany just arrested 3 Syrian refugees.
Well, I know this to ISIS, but they told you there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
But look, if you're going to be critical of me on that, that's fair game. I will tell you, after 2 Syrian refugees were involved in the attack in Paris that is called Paris's 9/11, as governor of the state of Indiana, I have no higher priority than the safety and security of the people of my state.
But Governor
so you
Pence,
bet I suspended that program.
But Governor Pence,
and I stand by that decision. And if I'm vice president of the United States or Donald Trump is president, we're going to put the safety and security of the American people first.
Can we just be clear?
Total
Hillary
madness.
and I will do immigration enforcement and we'll vet refugees based on whether they're dangerous or not.
Oh, are they going to tell you that they're dangerous?
Yeah, that's like vetting a police officer on whether he's racist or not. There's no test for that, you moron.
Elaine, the director of the FBI or Homeland Security said, we can't know for certain who these people are coming from Syria.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. How can you know that?
What's your plan?
We don't let them in.
The FBI and Homeland Security said, we can't know for certain. You've got to err on the side of the safety and security of the American people, Senator.
Thank you.
I understand
by trashing all Syrians or trashing all Muslims.
Senator Kaine, let me ask you this. Secretary Clinton has talked about an intelligence.
Why does he do that? Why does he assume that he just puts words in your mouth? It's like you make one statement, then it's all Mexicans, all Syrians. No, we're talking about radical Islamic terrorists, but you can't wrap your mind around that. You're a typical liberal.
It's two things.
And illegal immigrants, not immigrants.
Expanding our intelligence capacities by hiring great professionals, but also we've got some of the best intel and cyber employees in the world right here in the United States working for many of our private sector companies.
Yeah,
that's why
right.
You keep getting hacked.
That's why you hired him to run Hillary Clinton's private email server.
With some of our cyber and intel experts in the private sector so that we can, consistent with constitutional principles, gather more intelligence. But the second piece of this is really, really important. It also means creating stronger alliances because you gather intelligence and then you share your intelligence back and forth with allies. And that's how you find out who may be trying to recruit.
Well, the Grinch who's trying to steal the vice presidential debate vomits out of his mouth.
America.
Can somebody find out what that lapel is? It's not the state flag of Virginia. Can somebody find out what that lapel is? I have no idea. It's not an American flag. I know that.
Push aside your alliances. Who are you going to share intelligence with? Hillary Clinton is the Secretary of State who knows how to build alliances. She built the sanctions regime around the world that stopped the Iranian nuclear weapons program, and that's what an intelligence means. Better skill and capacity, but also better alliances.
All right, I'd like to turn now to the tragedy in Syria.
Can I speak about the cybersecurity surge at all?
You can have 30 seconds, Governor, quickly, please.
First, Donald Trump just spoke about this issue this week. We have got to bring together the best resources of this country to understand that cyber warfare is the new warfare of the asymmetrical enemies that we face in this country. And I look forward, if I'm privileged to be in this role of working with you in the Senate, to make sure that we resource that effort.
We will work together in whatever roles we inhabit.
We have intelligence, sir. But I will also tell you that it's important in this moment to remember that Hillary Clinton had a private server in her home that had classified information on it about drone strikes. Emails from the President of the United States of America were on there. Her private server was subject.
Iranian scientists.
I'd like to ask you
who then got beheaded.
We could put cybersecurity first if we just make sure the next Secretary of State doesn't have a private server.
Investigation concluded that not one reasonable prosecutor would take any additional step. You don't get to decide the rights and wrongs of this. We have a justice system that does that. And a Republican FBI director did an investigation and concluded.
All right, we are moving on now.
Senator, if your son or my son handled classified information the way Hillary Clinton did, they'd be court-martialed.
That is absolutely false, and you know that.
That is absolutely true, Tim Kaine.
Because the FBI did an investigation.
Gentlemen.
And they concluded that there was no reasonable prosecutor who would take it.
Oh, my
Senator
God.
Kaine, Governor Pence, please.
Syria.
I want to turn now to Syria.
Please.
250,000 people, 100,000 of them children, are under siege in Aleppo, Syria. Bunker buster bombs, cluster munitions, and incendiary weapons are being dropped on them by Russian and Syrian militaries. Does the U.S.
and
have
moderate
a
rebels
responsibility to protect civilians
Hillary Clinton armed
and prevent mass casualties on this scale? Governor Pence.
The United States of America needs to begin to exercise strong leadership to protect the vulnerable citizens and over 100,000 children in Aleppo. Hillary Clinton's top priority when she became Secretary of State was the Russian reset. The Russian reset. After the Russian reset, the Russians invaded Ukraine and took over Crimea. And the small and bullying leader of Russia is now dictating terms to the United States to the point where all the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth, just withdraws from talks about a ceasefire, while Vladimir Putin puts a missile defense system in Syria, while he marshals the forces and begins. Look, we have got to begin to lean into this with strong, broad-shouldered American leadership. It begins by rebuilding our military. And the Russians and the Chinese have been making enormous investments in the military. We have the smallest Navy since 1916. We have the lowest number of troops since the end of the Second World War. We've got to work with the Congress and Donald Trump will to rebuild our military and project American strength in the world. But about Aleppo and about Syria, I truly do believe that what America ought to do right now is to immediately establish safe zones so that families and vulnerable families with children can move out of those areas, work with our Arab partners real time right now to make that happen. And secondly, I just have to tell you that the provocations by Russia need to be met with American strength. And if Russia chooses to be involved and continue, I should say, to be involved in this barbaric attack on civilians in Aleppo, the United States of America should be prepared to use military force to strike military targets of the Assad regime, to prevent them from this humanitarian crisis that is taking place in Aleppo. There's a broad range of other things that we ought to do as well. We ought to deploy a missile defense shield to the Czech Republic and Poland, which Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama pulled back on out of not wanting to offend the Russians back in 2009. We've just got to have American strength on the world stage. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, the Russians and other countries in the world will know they're dealing with a strong American president.
Senator Hillary and I also agree that the establishment of a humanitarian zone in northern Syria with the provision of international human aid consistent with the UN Security Council resolution that was passed in February 2014 would be a very, very good idea. And Hillary also has the ability to stand up to Russia in a way that this ticket does not. Donald Trump again and again has praised Vladimir Putin, and it's clear that he has business dealings with Russian oligarchs who are very connected to Putin. The Trump campaign management team had to be fired a month or so ago because of those shadowy connections with pro-Putin forces. Governor Pence made the
you mean
odd
like
claim.
selling
He said
uranium to Russia?
Vladimir Putin
the Clinton
is a better
Foundation
leader than President Obama. Vladimir Putin's run his economy into the ground. He persecutes LGBT folks and journalists. If you don't know the difference between dictatorship and leadership,
you're going to find out if you vote Clinton Kane.
I tell you what offends me. Governor Pence just said that Donald Trump will rebuild the military. No, he won't. Donald Trump is avoiding paying taxes. The New York Times story, and we need to get this, but the New York Times story suggested that he probably didn't pay taxes for about 18 years starting in 1995. Those years included the years of 9/11. So get this. On 9/11, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's hometown was attacked by the worst terrorist attack in the history of the United States. Young men and women signed up to serve in the military to fight terrorism. Hillary Clinton went to Washington to get funds to rebuild her city and protect first responders, but Donald Trump was fighting a very different fight. It was a fight to avoid paying taxes so that he wouldn't support the fight against terror. He wouldn't support troops. He wouldn't support.
Yeah, stick to the script.
This is important, Elaine. When a guy running for president will not support the troops, not support.
All right, Mike, it's time to bring up the Clinton Foundation, Pence. It's time to bring up the Clinton Foundation. It's time to bring up Haiti.
It's time to bring up the fact that Hillary Clinton used that same tax loophole in 2015 to avoid paying more than $700,000 in taxes. They all do it. They all have the best accountants that they can possibly buy in order to not pay the taxes that they don't want to pay. If they can get away with not paying it, they will.
The taxes that he's. Do you not take?
We're not.
Gentlemen, this is about Syria. I'd like to ask the
honestly, Senator.
It is about our troops.
I understand why you want to change it. I understand why you want to change the subject. I understand why you want to change the subject. And let me be very clear on this Russian thing. The larger question here.
Do you think Donald Trump is smart to not pay taxes?
What we're dealing with is there's an old proverb that says the Russian bear never dies, it just hibernates. And the truth of the matter is the weak and feckless foreign policy of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama has awakened an aggression in Russia that first appeared a few years ago with their move in Georgia, now their move into Crimea, now their move into the wider Middle East, and all the while, all we do is fold our arms and say we're not having talks anymore. To answer your question, we just need American strength. We need to marshal the resources of our allies in the region, and in the immediate, we need to act now to get people out of harm's way.
And exactly how would those safe zones work? How would they remain safe?
The safe zones would have to be, as the senator said, there's already a framework for this that's been recognized by the international community. But the United States of America needs to be prepared to work with our allies in the region to create a route for safe passage, and then to protect people in those areas, including with a no-fly zone. But look, this is very tough stuff. I served on the Foreign Affairs Committee for a decade. I traveled in and out of that region for 10 years. I saw what the American soldier won in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and to see the weak and feckless leadership that Hillary Clinton was the architect of in the foreign policy of the Obama administration.
Let me come back and talk
deeply
about,
troubling to me. That will all change
talk about
the day
the
Donald
things
Trump
that Governor
becomes
Pence
president of the
doesn't want to
United
acknowledge, Elaine. He doesn't want to acknowledge that we stopped the Iranian nuclear weapons program. He doesn't want to acknowledge that Hillary was part of it.
It's an outright lie.
It's like everyone is so worried about this Iran deal because it's going to help speed up their plans for nuclear weapons. Good job.
To 15,000. But let me tell you what will really make the Middle East dangerous. Donald Trump's idea that more nations should get nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia, Japan, South Korea. Ronald Reagan said something really interesting about nuclear proliferation back in the 1980s. He said the problem with nuclear proliferation is that some fool or maniac could trigger a catastrophic event. And I think that's who Governor Pence's running mate is, exactly who President Reagan warned us about.
Senator, that was even beneath you and Hillary Clinton, and that's pretty low.
But do you think we should have more nuclear weapons in the world will make us safer?
Hillary Clinton has sold billions of dollars in arms to some of the most dangerous countries in the region. Yeah, sure, maybe it's not an actual nuclear weapon, but they are going outside of their borders, bringing the war to us now.
I can't believe he just called Donald Trump a crazed criminal when that's his partner. That's Hillary Clinton. She is a psychopath. And this guy's up here trying to say that's Trump.
Just a vast right-wing conspiracy.
That's what the Israeli head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is saying right now.
Well, that's not what Israel thinks.
Gadi Eisenkot, you can go check it.
You wouldn't necessarily know that. I know you boycotted Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech.
No, I visited him in his office. I visited him in his office.
You boycotted the speech. The point is, what this so-called Iran deal did was essentially guarantee. I mean, when I was in Congress, I fought hard on a bipartisan basis with Republican and Democrat members to move forward the toughest sanctions, literally in the history of the United States against Iran.
And then Hillary used them.
We were bringing them to heel, but the goal was always that we would only lift the sanctions if Iran permanently renounced their nuclear ambitions.
Let me just mention
they have not, Elaine, let me finish the sentence. They have not renounced their nuclear ambitions, and when the deal's period runs out, there's no limitation on them obtaining weapons. That and the fact that they got $1.7 billion in a ransom payment.
We need to talk about Russia very quickly,
just astonishing to the American people.
6 times tonight, I have said to Governor Pence, I can't imagine how you can defend your running mate's position on one issue after the next. And in all 6 cases, he's refused to defend his running mate's.
No, don't put words in my mouth.
All right.
If he's going to do that, you got to give him time.
And yet, he is asking everybody to vote for somebody that he cannot defend. And I just think that should be underlined.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk about Russia.
This is a topic that has come up.
I will give you an opportunity to do that.
I'll take them one at a time.
More nations should get nuclear weapons.
Don't try to defend that. Well, he never said that, Senator. And
he has absolutely said it. Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Japan.
Gentlemen, Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, annexed Crimea, and has provided crucial military support to the Assad regime. What steps, if any, would your administration take to counter these actions, Senator Kaine?
You got to be tough on Russia. So let's start with not praising Vladimir Putin as a great leader. Donald Trump and Mike Pence have said he's a great leader. And Donald Trump has business dealings with Russia that he refuses to disclose. Hillary Clinton has gone toe-to-toe with Russia. She went toe-to-toe with Russia as Secretary of State to do the New START agreement to reduce Russia's nuclear stockpile. She's had the experience doing it. She went toe-to-toe with Russia and lodged protests when they went into Georgia. And we've done the same thing about Ukraine, but more than lodging protests, we've put punishing economic sanctions on Russia that we need to continue. Donald Trump, on the other hand, didn't know that Russia had invaded the Crimea.
Oh, that's nonsense.
He was on a TV show a couple months back, and he said, I'll guarantee you this, Russia's not going into the Ukraine. And he had to be reminded that they had gone into the Crimea 2 years before. Hillary Clinton has gone toe-to-toe with Russia to work out a deal on New START. She got them engaged in a meaningful way to cap Iran's nuclear weapons program, and yet she stood up to them on issues such as Syria and their invasion of Georgia. You've got to have the ability to do that, and Hillary does.
And Joe Biden sent his son in to go oversee the oil.
Praises Vladimir Putin.
Isn't that convenient?
America should really wonder about a President Trump who had a campaign manager with ties to Putin, pro-Putin elements in the Ukraine, who had to be fired for that reason. They should wonder, when Donald Trump is sitting down with Vladimir Putin, is it going to be America's bottom line, or is it going to be Donald Trump's bottom line that he's going to be worried about with all of his business dealings? Now, this could be solved if Donald Trump would be willing to release his tax returns, as he told the American public.
Why doesn't Hillary Clinton release her speeches to all the banks and Wall Street and Goldman Sachs? We know what her bottom line is. It's not going to be the American people.
Business with Russia. The only way the American public will see whether he has a conflict of interest.
Said that.
Senator, your time is up. Governor.
Well, thanks. I just trying to keep up with the insult-driven campaign on the other side of the table.
I'm just saying facts about your running mate.
Yeah. Well,
and I know you can't defend
Senator,
him.
please,
I'm happy to defend him, Senator. Don't put words in my mouth that I'm not defending him.
You're not.
I'm happy to defend him. Most of what you said is completely false, and the American people know that.
I'll run through the list of things where you
old days.
Senator, please, the
sexist, racist, xenophobic.
Look, this is the alternative universe of Washington, D.C. versus reality. Hillary Clinton said her #1 priority was a reset with Russia. That reset resulted in the invasion of Ukraine. After they'd infiltrated with what are called little green men, Russian soldiers that were dressing up like Ukrainian dissidents. And then they moved all the way into Crimea, took over the Crimean Peninsula. And Donald Trump knew that happened. He basically was saying it's not going to happen again. The truth of the matter is that what you have in the rise of aggressive Russia, which has had increased its influence in Iran, that now because of this deal is on a pathway in the future to obtain a nuclear. The leading state sponsor of terror in the world, in Iran, now has a closer working relationship with Russia because of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama's foreign policy, and $150 billion and sanctions all being lifted. And then, of course, Syria. I mean, it really is extraordinary. Syria is imploding. You just asked a very thoughtful question about the disaster in Aleppo. ISIS is headquartered in Raqqa. ISIS from Raqqa has overrun vast areas that at great sacrifice the American soldier won in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And yet Senator Kaine still sits here, loyal soldier. I get all that. It's saying that the foreign policy of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama somehow made the world more secure. Right. It really is astonishing that on the day that Iran released 4 American hostages, we delivered $400 million in cash.
And you allowed ISIS
as a ransom
go from the JV team to our #1 threat
by the radical mullahs in Tehran.
And
Governor, just today, Mr. Trump said, quote, Putin has no respect for Hillary Clinton and no respect for Obama. Why do you think he'll respect a Trump-Pence administration?
Strength. Plain and simple. Business. Donald Trump, that's nonsense. Donald Trump's son leader
says
who is going to lead with American strength. We're going to rebuild our military. And let me this whole Putin thing. Look, America is stronger than Russia. Our economy is 16 times larger than the Russian economy. America's political system is superior to the crony, corrupt capitalist system in Russia in every way. When Donald Trump and I observe that, as I've said, in Syria, in Iran, in Ukraine, that the small and bullying leader of Russia has been stronger on the world stage than this administration, that's stating painful facts. That's not an endorsement of Vladimir Putin. That's an indictment of the weak and feckless leadership of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Well, this is one where we can just kind of go to the tape on it. But Governor Pence said, inarguably, Vladimir Putin is a better leader than President Biden.
That is absolutely and
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just think
they won't even roll the gate out for him when he gets off his plane. They don't respect him around the globe.
And I'll just say this, Governor.
If you just said better.
If you mistake leadership for dictatorship and you can't tell the difference, a country that's running its economy.
Yeah, here we go. This is the great school thing again. Right.
If you can't tell the difference, you shouldn't be commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
And with Donald Trump's sons say that they have all these business dealings with Russia. Those could be disclosed with tax returns, but they refuse.
I'm not sure that Tim Kaine understands the difference standing up for Barack Obama, who has been the closest thing to a dictator this country's ever seen. I have pen, I have paper. Quoting Obama.
Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is a dictator.
And what would you do differently?
Vladimir Putin is a dictator. He's not a leader.
Well, that's why they want to destroy the Constitution, so Clinton can be the dictator here.
Vladimir Putin. Hillary Clinton knows exactly who this guy is.
We know exactly who Hillary Clinton is.
Yeah, and like we trust her opinion on. Does she know who her own husband is?
We do have to deal with Russia.
Not a good character-driven person there.
So it was Hillary Clinton who worked with Russia on the New START treaty to reduce their nuclear weapons stockpile. It was Hillary Clinton that worked with Russia to get them engaged in a community of nations.
It was Hillary Clinton that sold the U.S. uranium to the Russians.
She's not going around praising Vladimir Putin as a great guy, but she knows how to sit down at a table and negotiate tough deals.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very
super tough selling
part of the world,
our
and
uranium.
we ought to have a commander-in-chief who has prepared and done it, rather than somebody who goes around praising Vladimir Putin as a great leader.
All right, I'd like to ask now about North Korea, Iran, and the threat of nuclear weapons. North Korea recently conducted its 5th and most powerful nuclear test.
Right.
What specific steps would you take to prevent North Korea from developing a nuclear-armed missile capable of reaching the United States? Governor Pence.
Well, first, we need to make a commitment to rebuild our military, including modernizing our nuclear forces. And we also need an effective American diplomacy that will marshal the resources of nations in the Asian Pacific Rim to put pressure on North Korea, on Kim Jong-un, to abandon his nuclear ambitions. It has to remain the policy of the United States of America, the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Plain and simple. And when Donald Trump is president of the United States, we're not going to have the kind of posture in the world that has Russia invading Crimea and Ukraine, that has the Chinese building new islands in the South China Sea, that has literally the world, including North Korea, flouting American power. We're going to go back to the days of peace through strength. But I have to tell you that all this talk about tax returns, and I get it, you know, you want to keep bringing that up. It must have
until
well in some focus group. But here, Hillary Clinton and her husband set up a private foundation called the Clinton Foundation. While she was Secretary of State, the Clinton Foundation accepted tens of millions of dollars from foreign governments and foreign donors. Now y'all need to know out there, this is basic stuff. Foreign donors and certainly foreign governments cannot participate in the American political process. They cannot make financial contributions. But the Clintons figured out a way to create a foundation where foreign governments and foreign donors could donate millions of dollars. And then we found, thanks to the good work of the Associated Press, that more than half of her private meetings when she was Secretary of State were given to major donors of the Clinton Foundation. When you talk about all these baseless rumors about Russia and the rest, Hillary Clinton, you asked the trustworthy question at the very beginning. The reason the American people don't trust Hillary Clinton is because they are looking at the pay-to-play politics that she operated with the Clinton Foundation through a private server while she's Secretary of State. And they're saying enough is enough.
Senator Kaine.
I'm going to talk about the foundation, then I'll talk about North Korea. So, on the foundation. I am glad to talk about the foundation. The Clinton Foundation is one of the highest-rated charities in the world. It provides
less than 5% of those foreign donations go to helping people. The rest of them go to line the pockets of the Clintons.
it gets higher rankings for its charity than the American Red Cross does.
It was actually taken off the charity. It was like a charity watch list, watchdogs. They took them off.
Action to benefit the foundation. The State Department did an investigation, and they concluded that...
Oh, the Hillary Clinton State Department did an investigation on the Hillary Clinton Foundation. Wow. You didn't find anything?
So the foundation
Shocking.
does good work,
Shocking.
and Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, acted in the interest of the United States. But let's compare this now with the Trump Organization and the Trump Foundation. The Trump Organization is an octopus-like organization with tentacles all over the world whose conflict of interest could only be known if Donald Trump would release his tax returns. He's refused to.
And let's not forget the Clinton Foundation, when they released their tax returns, they had to redo up to 3 years of them because they failed to disclose the donations they were getting from foreign countries. They were messed up, and they were putting the money in allocating it to the wrong channels and lying about Bill Clinton taking in money from speeches. And
the foundation was just
wouldn't the Donald Trump Foundation have a different filing process than Donald Trump himself? So this doesn't make any sense.
And it also, you know, as we've learned from the Clinton Foundation, the donations don't equal pay-to-play favors. It doesn't mean there's any wrongdoing there. So I don't know why he's even bringing this up.
This is the difference between a foundation that does good work and a Secretary of State who acted in accord with American interests.
Bring up
and
Haiti.
somebody
Bring
who
up
is
Haiti.
conflicted in doing work around the world and won't share with the American public what he's doing and what those conflicts are.
Governor, I will give you 30 seconds to respond because I know you want to. But again, I would remind you both this was about North Korea.
Well, thank you. Thank you. The Trump Foundation is a private family foundation. They give virtually every cent in the Trump Foundation to charitable causes.
Political
Less than 10 cents on the dollar in the Clinton Foundation has gone to charitable causes.
$20,000 portrait of Donald Trump?
Less than 10 cents on the dollar, the Clinton Foundation has gone to charitable causes.
And that's a fact.
It has been a platform for the Clintons to travel the world, to have staff. But honestly, Senator, we would know a lot more about it if Hillary Clinton would just turn over the 33,000 emails that she refused to turn over.
Senator Kaine,
in her private service.
Yes, North Korea. Moving on.
Senator Kaine, if you had intelligence that North Korea was about to launch a missile, a nuclear-armed missile capable of reaching the United States, would you take preemptive action?
I have exclusive, I've got the documents of what Tim Kaine has been scribbling furiously this entire time.
You have to.
President has to do that. We've got
exactly
the documents.
What action? You would have to determine what your intelligence was, how certain you were of that intelligence, but you would have to take action. You asked the question about how do we deal with North Korea. I'm on the Foreign Relations Committee. We just did an extensive sanctions package against North Korea. And interestingly enough, Elaine, the UN followed and did this virtually the same package. Often China will use their veto in the Security Council to veto a package like that. They're starting to get worried about North Korea, too. Yeah. So they actually supported the sanctions package, even though many of the sanctions are against Chinese firms, Chinese financial institutions. So we're working together with China, and we need to. China is another one of those relationships where it's competitive, it's also challenging, and in times like North Korea, we have to be able to cooperate. Hillary understands that very well. She went once famously to China and stood up at a human rights meeting and looked him in the eye and said, women's rights are human rights. They didn't want her to say that, but she did. But she's also worked on a lot of
Did she say that in Saudi Arabia?
And important diplomatic deals with China, and that's what it's going to take. The thing I would worry a little bit about is that Donald Trump owes about $650 million to banks, including the Bank of China. I'm not sure he could stand up so tough to the people who have loaned him money.
All right, I'd like to turn to
yeah, exactly. Just like the banks, Goldman Sachs, and everyone who has given Hillary Clinton money. Let's not forget in her tax returns from last year, she donated $1 million to charity so she wouldn't have to pay as much in taxes to her own charity.
And a public policy position. Senator Kaine.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me, Elaine. It's an easy one. I'm really fortunate. I grew up in a wonderful household with great Irish Catholic parents. My mom and dad are sitting right here. I was educated by Jesuits at Rockhurst High School in Kansas City, my 40th reunions in 10 days. And I worked with Jesuit missionaries
he's just a
in
lovable
Honduras,
guy.
now nearly 35 years ago, and they were the heroes of my life. I try to practice my religion in a very devout way and follow the teachings of my church in my own personal life. But I don't believe in this nation, a First Amendment nation, where we don't raise any religion over the other, and we allow people to worship as they please, that the doctrines of any one religion should be mandated for everyone. For me, the hardest struggle in my faith life was the Catholic Church is against the death penalty, and so am I. But I was governor of a state, and the state law said that there was a death penalty.
We only believe in the death penalty if you shoot the guy who leaked our secret documents to WikiLeaks. Then we like the death penalty.
But I looked the voters of Virginia in the eye and said, look, this is my religion. I'm not going to change my religious practice to get one vote, but I know how to take an oath and uphold the law, and if you elect me, I will uphold the law. And I was elected, and I did. It was very, very difficult to allow executions to go forward, but in circumstances where I didn't feel like there was a case for clemency, I told Virginia voters I would uphold the law, and I did. That was a real struggle, but I think it is really, really important that those of us who have deep faith lives don't feel like we could just substitute our own views for everybody else in society, regardless of their views.
Tim Kaine honors his religion when it does not intersect with liberal, secular ideology. Abortion.
My Christian faith is at the very heart of who I am. I was also raised in a wonderful family of faith. It was church on Sunday morning and grace before dinner, but my Christian faith became real for me when I made a personal decision for Christ when I was a freshman in college. And I've tried to live that out, however imperfectly, every day of my life since. And with my wife at my side, we followed a calling into public service where we've tried to keep faith with the values that we cherish. And with regard to when I struggle, I appreciate and I have a great deal of respect for Senator Kaine's sincere faith. I truly do.
That's shared.
But for me, I would tell you that for me, the sanctity of life proceeds out of the belief that ancient principle that where God says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. And so for my first time in public life, I've sought to stand with great compassion for the sanctity of life. The state of Indiana has also sought to make sure that we expand alternatives in healthcare counseling for women, non-abortion alternatives. I'm also very pleased with the fact we're well on our way in Indiana to becoming the most pro-adoption state in America. I think if you're going to be pro-life, you should be pro-adoption. But what I can't understand is with Hillary Clinton and now Senator Kaine at her side is to support a practice like partial birth abortion. I mean, to hold to the view, and I know Senator Kaine, you hold pro-life views personally, but the very idea that a child that is almost born into the world could still have their life taken from them is just anathema to me. And I can't conscience about a party that supports that, or that I know you've historically opposed taxpayer funding of abortion, but Hillary Clinton wants to repeal the long-standing provision in the law where we said we wouldn't use taxpayer dollars to fund abortion. So for me, my faith informs my life. I try and spend a little time on my knees every day, but it all for me begins with cherishing the dignity, the worth, the value of every human life.
Elaine, this is a fundamental question, a fundamental question.
I think one of the callers was right. They were going to let this be one of the last closing questions because this is really going to set them apart. And, of course, heavily divide the country.
And it is the first time we've seen this happen, at least in this cycle.
But it is not the role of the public servant to mandate that for everybody else. So let's talk about abortion and choice. Let's talk about that. We support Roe versus Wade. We support the constitutional right of American women to consult their own conscience, their own supportive partner, their own minister, but then make their own decision about pregnancy. That's something we trust American women to do that. And we don't think that women should be punished, as Donald Trump said they should, for making the decision to have an abortion. Governor Pence wants to repeal Roe versus Wade. He said he wants to put it on the ash heap of history. And we have some young people in the audience who weren't even born when Roe was decided. This is pretty important. Before Roe versus Wade, states could pass criminal laws to do just that, to punish women if they made the choice to terminate a pregnancy. I think you should live your moral values. But the last thing, the very last thing that government should do is have laws that would punish women who make reproductive choices. And that is the fundamental difference between a Clinton-Kaine ticket and a Trump-Pence ticket that wants to punish women who make that choice.
It's really
no, they want to punish people that break the law. Big difference that the Democrats don't seem to understand.
Women who made the heartbreaking choice to end a pregnancy.
And why did Donald Trump say that?
We just never would.
Why did he say that?
Well, because he said he wanted to make it illegal.
A polished politician.
That's why. If you break the law, you get punished.
Well, I would
very simple.
Exactly the way he means them, but I'm telling you what other policy
great line from the Gospel of Matthew. From the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump says women should be punished, or Mexicans are rapists and criminals, or John McCain's not a hero, he is showing you who he is.
Senator, you whipped out that Mexican thing again.
And you are showing
Look,
can you defend it?
There are criminal aliens in this country, Tim, who have come into this country illegally, who are perpetrating violence and taking American lives.
You want to use a big tar brush against Mexicans?
He also said, and many of them are good people. You keep leaving that out of your quote. And if you want me to go there, I'll go there. But there is a choice here, and it is a choice on life. I couldn't be more proud to be standing with Donald Trump, who's standing for the right to life. It's a principle that Senator Kaine, and I'm very gentle about this because I really do respect you, it's a principle that you embrace. And I've appreciated the fact that you've supported the Hyde Amendment, which bans the use of taxpayer funding for abortion in the past, but that's not Hillary Clinton's view. People need to understand we can come together as a nation. We can create a culture of life. More and more young people today are embracing life because we know we are... We're better for it. We can, like Mother Teresa said at that famous National Prayer Breakfast.
This is important.
Let's welcome the children into our world. There are so many families around the country who can't have children. We could improve adoption so that families that can't have children can adopt more readily.
Why don't you trust women to make this choice for themselves? We can encourage people to support life. Of course we can, but why don't you trust women? Why doesn't Donald Trump trust women to make this choice for themselves? That's what we ought to be doing in public life, living our lives of faith or motivation.
Yeah, because Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton trust that American women will kill their babies. They trust it, and it's happened year after year. So that's what they trust, folks.
Because a society can be judged by how it deals with its most vulnerable, the aged, the infirm, the disabled, and the unborn. I believe it with all my heart, and I couldn't be more proud to be standing with a pro-life candidate in Donald Trump.
I do have one final question for you both tonight. It has been a divisive campaign. Senator Kaine, if your ticket wins, what specifically are you going to do to unify the country and reassure the people who voted against you?
That's a really important one. That may be the $64,000 question, because it has been a divisive campaign. And again, Hillary's running a campaign about stronger together. And Donald Trump, and this is not directed at this man, except to the extent that he can't defend Donald Trump. Donald Trump has run a campaign that's been about one insult after the next. But we do have to bring the country
as he
together.
Insults Donald Trump. I can't stand this guy.
I know, I really can't stand him.
Hillary Clinton was First Lady.
You're a mean one,
Senator
Mr.
for 8
Grinch.
years and Secretary of State. And I serve in the Senate. And I'm really amazed, Elaine, as I talk to Republican senators, how well they regard and respect Hillary Clinton. She was on the Armed Services Committee. She was on other committees. She worked across the aisle when she was First Lady to get the CHIP program passed so that 8 million low-income kids have health insurance in this country, including 150,000 in Indiana. She worked across the aisle after 9/11 to get health benefits for the first responders who bravely went into the towers and into the Pentagon. She worked to get benefits for TRICARE benefits for National Guard members, including Hoosiers and Virginians in the National Guard. She has a track record of working across the aisle to make things happen. And you know, Elaine, I have the same track record. I was a governor of Virginia with 2 Republican houses. And in the Senate, I have good working relationships across the aisle. Because, yeah, I think it's fine to be a Democrat or Republican or independent, but after Election Day, the goal is work together. And Hillary Clinton has a track record of accomplishment across the aisle that will enable her to do just that when we work with the new Congress in January.
Governor, how will you unify the country if you win?
Well, thank you, Elaine, and thanks for a great discussion. Absolutely. Tonight. Thank you, Senator. This is a very challenging time in the life of our nation. Weakened America's place in the world after the leadership of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama on the world stage has been followed by an economy that is truly struggling, stifled by an avalanche of more taxes, more regulation, Obamacare, the war on coal, and the kind of trade deals that have put American workers in the back seat. And I think the best way that we can bring people together is through change in Washington, D.C. You know, I served in Washington, D.C. for 12 years in the Congress of the United States. And I served with many Republicans and Democrats, men and women of goodwill. The potential is there to really change the direction of this country, but it's going to take leadership to do it. The American people want to see our nation standing tall on the world stage again. They want to see us supporting our military, rebuilding our military, commanding the respect of the world, and they want to see the American economy off to the races again. They want to see an American comeback. And Donald Trump's entire career has been about building. It's going through hardship just like a business person does, and finding a way through smarts and ingenuity and resilience to fight forward. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to have a stronger America. When you hear him say he wants to make America great again, when we do that, I truly do believe the American people are going to be standing taller. Mm-hmm. They're going to see that real change can happen after decades of just talking about it. And when that happens, the American people are going to stand tall, stand together, and we'll have the kind of unity that's been missing for way too long.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
And that's the whole thing with the getting a "you're fired" candidate. They tried to kind of paint that as a bad thing, that Donald Trump would be a "you're fired" candidate, and he just kind of spelled it out like, yeah, he's going to fire all of the people in government who are wasting our tax dollars. I am all for that.
Get him out.
Yeah.
Get him out.
Well, you were asking at the beginning of this, you know, how does one win a debate? Well, I think Pence just answered that question. I think he dominated that. And clearly, Kaine, on the other hand, just showed the true colors of the Democrats, which is like, we're not going to focus on the issues. We just want to get people all fired up about these weaponized terminology of racist, sexist. He used the exact words verbatim that Hillary Clinton said in the past.
And they rely on low information voters. They rely on the ignorance of their voters. This has been proven. They've even said this in leaks. We've seen this, so we know that this is going on. We'll take a quick break, though, and we will take your calls on the other side. So
here's the number. We are going to be taking your calls, 877-789-2539. And we're also going to go ahead and play this Jones piece because he really wants to hammer this home, how key it is that we need to expose the Clintons, what they did not do in Haiti, how they didn't use all the billions of dollars in donations to help the Haitians. What did they do with all that money? Those people are still suffering. God bless them. They're going to be suffering even further now with this hurricane. But stick around. We will be right back taking your phone calls right after this.
Devastated in 2010 by one of the worst earthquakes in Caribbean history.
It took only a glance to see what the rains did to the largest camp in Port-au-Prince.
Estimates vary, but up to 200,000 people have lost their lives.
New details of a possible influence peddling in the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, which we all remember very well.
There were hundreds of homes who were destroyed after the earthquake, and the people are still hungry. They have no food, no job, no homes. This is not right. The Clintons, Hillary Clinton, should be behind bars.
Now, Hurricane Matthew has slammed into Haiti at over 145 miles an hour, creating unbelievable devastation.
The whole world has given billions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation for the Haitians. Not even 2% of that money went back to Haiti.
Haitian leaders have already taken note of the fact that Donald Trump has been exposing the Clinton crimes in their nation.
So, Mr. Trump, we are asking you, begging you, the Haitian community will side with you if one day you ask Hillary Clinton publicly to disclose the audit of all the money they have stolen from Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake.
They're calling for you, Donald J. Trump. They're begging you to come to their island nation.
We need somebody like Donald Trump in the White House to make America great, so other countries around the world will respect America again.
Mr. Trump, you've been on the cutting edge of exposing the Clinton Foundation and how they robbed Haiti. Out of all their crimes, Haiti is clearly the worst. Tens of millions of dollars raised, and less than 10% actually delivered to the starving people of Haiti. More than 10,000 Haitian children then died because the United Nations effort, led by the Clintons, gave them poison-fetid water. Even the State Department's own data dump has letters from Chelsea Clinton, the Clintons' daughter, saying, please, you've got to do a better job. Children are dying from cholera. We've seen something in Hillary Clinton beyond hubris. We've seen an almost mechanical disconnect. A little over a month ago, when she refused to go to flooded Louisiana and Mississippi, Donald Trump went there and was on the spot and delivered food and aid to the people and talked to local leaders. As I speak, Haiti faces an even bigger threat than the devastating 2010 earthquake. Hurricane Matthew, at over 145 miles an hour, has smashed into the island and is sitting over it, wreaking mass flooding, landslides, and huge amounts of death. The Clintons publicly led an international movement that in total stole close to $2 billion of aid money that was meant to go to Haiti. And now 6 years later, they've almost rebuilt nothing. And Hurricane Matthew shows the horrific cost of what the Clinton Foundation has done, parasitically bleeding this Caribbean island. In 2010, the president of the Haitian Senate, Bernard Sansaric, was there when the Clintons reportedly tried to bribe him to cover up the fact that they were stealing billions of dollars in donations. In the words of the former Haitian Senate president, the Clintons exploited Haiti's earthquake to steal billions of dollars from the sick and starving.
The American embassy called me, as it was often the case, and they said, President Clinton has a messenger for you. I said, send him over. He came, did not give me his name, but told me, Mr. Sansaric, you join our movement. You side with Bill Clinton in this invasion and will make you the richest man in Haiti. I said, sir, tell President Clinton for me, Bernard Sansaric is not for sale. I have principle and I love my country. A week later, by executive order, Clinton revoked my visa. I was then a resident of the United States. I am now a citizen of the United States.
And, you know, when she raises this money, every time she raises money, she's making deals. They're saying, could I be the ambassador to this? Could I do that? Make sure my business is taken care of. I mean, give me a break. All of the money she's raising, that's blood money.
I'll be honest with viewers, Donald Trump has always been one step ahead of me and my listeners. That's why he needs to be our president. But I'm just here to give the moral support to make sure that Donald does what he knows is best, and some of his advisors don't block this idea, because it's the right thing to do to help Haiti. The Clintons have already robbed them of billions of dollars of donations, and it shows that America really does care, and it shows how presidential Donald Trump is to fly in, not days after the hurricane, but right behind it as it blows out tomorrow. Come in, land. Give them a donation, give them food, rally good aid organizations that have good ratings online for giving almost all the donations to the Haitians, and support a true rebuilding in that country. And announce that your organization, the Trump Organization, is going to investigate building a hotel or tourist attraction in the nation. Show people what you've done in the business world. Show people true business investment in Haiti and a true helping hand in the midst of their crisis. Then Hillary will counter, saying you should be in the U.S., not in Haiti. Once you've shown a spotlight on what's happening on Haiti and gotten the people of the world to pour out billions of dollars that I predict will come in the next week with your leadership, you will then be able to move on to the United States and help with the damage that's taken place from the hurricane that hits the East Coast. In my view and from my gut, this is the right thing to do. because Haiti has been absolutely used and abused by the Clintons. It's an international scandal. It's something that will really wake up the voters to how cold-blooded this Clinton crime family is. And it'll bring real aid to the Haitians. And you'll be able to expose the crimes they've committed while making right what's happened to the Haitian people. This is such a no-brainer, and I guarantee you, folks, Donald Trump was thinking about it before we were. But we've got to make sure via Twitter and via Facebook and other platforms that he knows this is the right move to make. You know he's going to be on the East Coast when it's hit by the hurricane while Obama's playing golf and Hillary's taking a nap. But he needs to go to Haiti because they've been so screwed over by the woman he's running against, Hillary Rodham Clinton. In closing, some of the best special forces in the world are SAS in Britain. And their maxim is, fortune favors the bold. Well, our fortune is building a great economy, turning loose the engine of liberty, and empowering humanity, something we know Donald J. Trump believes in deeply. There's another maxim, and that comes from our own army, and that is in Latin, liberate the oppressed from the Green Berets. Donald Trump and the Liberty Movement is all about liberating the oppressed. And if the people of Haiti aren't oppressed, nobody is. They are oppressed by the Clintons and limousine liberals, and Donald Trump needs to come and begin the process of freeing the Haitians and rebuilding Haiti. America, led by the Clintons, screwed over the Haitians. It's time for Donald Trump to reverse that. I'm Alex Jones, signing off for INFOWARS.com. If you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance.